Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope your week started off well. I'm feeling a bit flat, to be honest with you. I think it's a change in the weather. It absolutely pissed down all day and it's getting dark early, and I'm not someone that enjoys these winter months, to be honest. So if you share my reservations, shall we say, we got this. We can get through it. Anyway, let's talk about Don Charles, because we all know that last week there was lots of speculation about whether he, was going to be the trainer of Daniel Dubois for very long. He appeared on TalkSport today for his sins in a previous life. Who would want to go on TalkSport and talk to Simon Jordan? Anyway, he went on there and he did seem to be sort of recovering. He was a little bit subdued. He was recovering from what looked like a cold or whatever it was, a virus maybe. But he was his usual classy, dignified self, and I think that is kind of Don's trademark. I hope Don gets a big fat paycheck for that Dubois fight. He deserves it, because the amount of young fighters, not to a particularly high level, he's looked after, and the work, the day in day out work that he puts in the boxing game is just fantastic. He's helped an awful lot of people. One of boxing's sort of less fashionable trainers, shall we say, in the past, has had his fair share of criticism. To be honest with you, I've had my doubts about how high a grade of fighter he can train, to be honest with you, but it's very disappointing in my opinion. Post-fight for Daniel Dubois said, "I'd like to thank my dad and my team." Well, Don is the head trainer. And you can't tell me this is a coincidence that since Don has taken over, Daniel has sort of risen. I mean, exponentially risen, very, very, very quickly. I mean, 13 months ago, he was getting knocked out by Usyk. Just a little personal story about Don. This was 2017, 2018 maybe, and I was queuing up to go into the York Hall. The doors hadn't opened yet, and someone said, "Excuse me, please." And I looked over, it was Don. He was cutting through, and I said, "Oh, hello, Don." I said, "Oh, great. Who have you got? Which fighter have you got tonight?" And he mentioned the fighter, and I said, "Oh, I've seen him before. I've seen him." Now, at this point, he could have said, "Oh, yeah, no, thank you very much, mate. Bye-bye." I'd have probably done that, but instead, he stopped and talked to me for 5 minutes, only about 5 minutes. Some other guys in the queue were sort of chipping in. "Oh, yeah, it's Don Charles," and they were saying things. But he had a conversation with the bloke who was just some random geezer who was just queuing up to go into the York Hall. And that, to me, I thought, what a classy guy. I thought that at the time. I thought, oh, he's a nice fellow, isn't he? And they do say that, nice guys finish last. I don't believe that, actually. I'm more in the sort of the group who say that be nice to the people as you're going up, because when you're going down, they'll be nice to you, that happens to all of us in life, all of it, in some way or other. No one who's an arsehole ever gets out of life completed, if you know what I mean. There are always if you leave behind a sort of toxic or just a negative legacy, it does follow you around. And okay, you can say, "Well, I don't care, I'm dead. If I'm dead, I'm dead, aren't I?" But yeah, okay, fair enough. But I think it's nice. It's better. It just shows a better life lived if you leave behind a good legacy where you've spread positivity and, you've helped people who maybe no one's helped before. You've listened to people who no one has listened to before. I think Don Charles is someone who does that, and I've got a lot of respect for him. And with regard to the fight, he said some quite insightful things. He said he talked about energy a lot. He said you might not be able to see the energy, but you can feel it when you're there. And he felt that Joshua looked hypnotized as he was walking to the ring. Okay, it was unblinking, and I get it. I know what he means. And he said that he felt Daniel was really on point. Obviously, I mean, I suppose he would say that, wouldn't he? But it's very. I've never been in a corner for a professional boxing match, but it is that eye of the storm, completely unique position is something I don't think anyone from the outside looking in can really understand or really feel. You know what I mean? I know what Don means when he talks about energy, and I think that's that's sometimes overlooked. When your fighter is stunned, as obviously Joshua was, coming back to the corner, and Ben Davison, looking into the eyes of the fighter, you can immediately tell, can't you? What's going on here. You can read the signs. If you know your fighter, you know the facial expressions, the body language, the look in the eyes. They're all little giveaways, aren't they? And Don seems to be someone who's very attuned to that type of analysis, because you can, for example, you can train a fighter and you can say, okay, I want you to do this, this, and this. These are going to be the combinations. I want you to use it, to do your drills and everything. But you've got to know your fighter, because what might be good advice might not fit a particular fighter, because you've got to know your limitations as a fighter. You've got to know what you can and can't do. And you might be giving very good advice to someone who can't use it because they just don't have the talent. This is why a lot of very, very good, like elite level fighters don't necessarily make good trainers, simply because they could do it in their prime. So why can't this guy do it? Well, probably because he's an area level fighter or an English level fighter. You've got to know, what advice to give at what time. You've got to be able to see the things. Obviously, you've got to be able to see things that the fighter's not seeing, because they are in the, as you say, the eye of the storm. So you've got to be able to say, okay, you're doing this, he's doing this. I like Don Charles a lot. I think he has a very sort of, for want of a better word, that sort of fatherly attitude. And the moment I heard that he was with Daniel Dubois, because a lot of people said, "Oh, Don Charles with Daniel Dubois, leaving Shane McGregor." And I thought, hang on a minute. I know Dubois got his father. His father's very, very influential in the corner, but I wouldn't underrate the fatherly influence, or maybe the big brotherly influence of Don Charles. Don's in his 60s, 63, 64, something like that. And Daniel's only 27. So Don has got, 3.5 decades on him. That's a lot of experience. If you've been in boxing all your life, that's a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom. So yeah, basically big up Don Charles. That's what I'm saying in this video. What do you think? What do you think of him? Here's a question. Will he still be with Daniel? Because you just never know with Daniel. I don't buy into the idea that there was friction last week. I think Don was genuinely ill. The conspiracy theorists will always jump on things and, without any evidence, spin it. And it's possible that. The thing about conspiracy theories is it's always possible. You say, well, I think this happened and that happened. It could sound really outlandish, but yeah, it's feasible that it could happen. It's possible, and that's what they base their so-called expertise on. It's possible that Don did fall out with Stan Dubois or other members of the team. Oh, and Kieran Farrell as well deserves a mention, because he's worked very closely with Don and Daniel. Don't forget him as well. He was when you consider Kieran Farrell was badly injured in a fight, had to retire. It was against Anthony Crolla, had to have brain surgery, and then made a bit of a splash, came back to make a splash as a small hall circuit promoter, and now he's in the corner at Wembley Stadium, 96,000 people and all that. He's done all right, hasn't he, Kieran Farrell? But let me know what you think. Comments below if you've got any opinions. I'll give them a read. Thank you for your time as always. Subscribe, hit the like button, all the usual stuff that I say at the end of a video. And I will speak to you later. Bye-bye for now.